Arganissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today at www.arganissima.com. Arganissima, New York. Your beauty is our duty.
Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio, with your host, Hurricane H. New day, new show, new topic, terrific guest. We're going to talk about a topic that we all should be inclined to talk about every day, and something that we have to have as a signature during our lifetime, I would say. And so without any further ado, I have someone who is an author, a speaker, founder of a business coaching program. She is an attorney. She's a CPA. She's a lot. I don't think I can cover all that in the time that I'm going to, introduce my guest today. But nevertheless, she's here. She's a powerhouse, and we're gonna just get all that juice from her and all the mojo and get some insights within the hour to hopefully guide us and live, a different life. Maybe spin our mindset, and before we know it, we'll have a change of heart in how we actually apply in this world. Because we all have a mission in this world, and do we deliver the mission or not? Sometimes we're not even aware what that is. And the key word is legacy. Now, we will talk all about all that, with our guest, Dr. Gina Jones. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here to talk about legacy and generational wealth and the things that we can do to create the legacy that elevates future generations.
I love it. I love it. Well, again, this, like I said, we have a diversified audience, and I think, young or not, it doesn't matter. Youth, older, middle age, it doesn't matter. We all are. We can still. It's never too late. It's always a good start. Today is a good day, and if we haven't done so, we can always start planning and doing so. And I think we can certainly impact people today. So, Doctor, your backdrop. I mean, your background is just awesome. I mean, you're an attorney by trade, I'm assuming. Yeah. That's your first thing. Now that's a terrific journey on its own. And now, what kind of law were you involved with?
Business and tax law.
Ooh, heavy.
Yeah.
Ouch, yeah. Tax law. It is tax season. I mean, I don't know. Do we need any tips right now?
Oh no, I think we do need some tips, but I think that it is tax season, and this is a very busy time for me. But one of the things and one of the reasons that I started my practice was IRS representation and tax controversy avoidance. So basically saving people from the IRS and solving tax problems. That's really the cornerstone of my law practice. And one of the things that I figured out after practicing for several years is, the reason that people have tax problems in the first place is because they fail to plan. So, a lot of things go into that. And a lot of businesses have tax problems, a lot of professionals, high earners, but even just people who have regular day-to-day jobs, 9 to 5s. So people don't necessarily have to make a lot of money to have a tax problem. But the common thread, because I couldn't figure out why people who make $100 million and people who make $20,000 have the same problem, which is a tax problem, and that's a federal or state tax problem. And it came down to, in both situations or in all situations on the whole spectrum, it's all about a failure to plan properly. And that could be business planning, cash planning, profit planning, budget planning, So that's the common thread. And so that's really what my entire practice, whether it be my tax practice, my CPA practice, the representation I do as an attorney, or the coaching that I do in Business Boss, it's all about planning and avoiding that client coming to me with the IRS problem, and trying to be more proactive in what we can talk about and do to avoid that.
Well, that's quite a lot, and you're probably gonna get everybody's interest. Like, I want to know more about how to avoid all that. And I would say, at the end of the show, the description of in the description of the show, you'll have a link, folks, so you can feel free to actually reach out and see how you can get some advice. Now, I know you practice in Illinois, so I'm assuming that's your state of jurisdiction, right? That's where you practice law.
Actually, I'm a federal practitioner, so I practice in all 50 states. Mm-hmm.
Oh, even better. So our audiences now, they'll be like, yes, finally. I mean, I'm in New York, I'm in Jersey, I'm in Florida, I'm in Texas. I can't. So definitely we want to drive some folks to you and get some advice. And I think it's beautiful to know that you have the CPA part of it and the attorney part of it. So you understand it from all angles. And again,
and you guys over in New York, you guys have a special tax situation because you have state tax. You have city tax and you have the borough tax. So, a lot of stuff going on over there.
Well, I'm in Jersey, but you're right. I do work in New York, which means I do pay all that. And then my CPA has to work all those miracles and pay this and I get a credit from this. I have to pay for this one. It is convoluted. It's not like Florida. I think Texas are the least,
Yeah, they don't have any state.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably why everybody's moving there these days. I don't know.
Yeah, smart.
But I mean, obviously, it's New York, it's Jersey, it's just what it is. And
it is what.
But it is a tough place. I can tell you. I mean, I've had in the past. I decided to take one of those 401ks, early on, I guess, or whatever the pension plans, and I wound up paying penalties because I took it way early. And so it was all in all about $14,000 between penalties and the actual tax that I had to pay. And, I mean, I needed the cash at the time, so I took it. Yeah. But people don't even know that until, well, you got to pay. Oh,
exactly.
Shoot. Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's why so many people can end up in a tax problem just unknowingly. Like they're just, living their lives, doing their things. And nobody is telling them, hey, yeah, you could make that distribution, but you're going to have to pay tax on it, and you're going to have a penalty if there's no exception. One of the worst situations that I have that I experienced during tax season is when senior citizens come in and get their tax return prepared, and they don't always know that they have to pay tax on their retirement income, as well as their financial advisors may not have fully educated them on the repercussions of taking distributions. And so then they even find themselves at 70, 80, 90 years old in a tax problem. It's like they've worked all their lives. Why are they finding themselves in this position? And it's really sad because at that point, they only have their retirement income or what they saved over the course of their lives. So it's very sad. That's why, I really encourage people to plan now and really get educated financially now so that you don't run into those problems now or later.
Well, I would say thank you for doing what you're doing. I mean, it is an area that is difficult to handle, and certainly you help a lot of people get through it. I'm pretty sure with quite a success, and no one wants to deal with the IRS, and they can be very intimidating. It's the federal government, and when it comes to money, they will go after you. I mean, and you own a house, doesn't matter. You still got to pay taxes. The minute you don't, I mean, now you're in trouble. So, the easy way is to your point, to do the right thing, figure out, learn stuff, and best you said it in planning. And I use an expression in our world, which is prior planning prevents poor performance. And, of course, everybody knows fail to plan, plan to fail. Those are known, kind of, I guess, sayings or proverbs, whatever you want to call them. But they do apply in life. But unfortunately, we know about them. But do we all practice them? I think we all fail to a degree. And I'm not going to generalize. I'm sure there are a few people that are savvier than others. But, but I think we all make the mistake every now and then and just tend to, we'll deal with it when it happens. But when you're facing that, you got all this trouble that can be ahead of you, and it looms on you, and they can go to your back, they can go to your work, and it's tough. It's tough. So, well, again, that was just, thank you for just briefing us on that. I mean, it just happened to be tax season, so it was a good, intro to our discussion today. But really, the main discussion is really about, the planning and the legacy. And you do have a book, Legacy Made Simple. And that's in Barnes Nobles, Amazon, everything. And I did see a copy of it personally. when I was in Houston, and I saw you, and you were doing your. By the way, you do podcasts too, so just an FYI for people, you do have a show as well. So I think people can relate to that, and maybe connect with you to have to be a guest, or maybe have you. So I know you do multiple things, and so so I know as we were talking first, we wanted to start with part of the discussion, maybe healthcare, as you said.
Yeah.
So let's go there.
Yeah. So like you said, I did write this book, Legacy Made Simple. And one of the reasons that I wrote it is because of the things that we just talked about, people failing to plan. So I've worked with a lot of entertainers and a lot of CEOs over the course of my career. And, the goal was, and will always be to have a client not have a tax problem and to be more proactive and work with them to avoid that. One of the things that I realized in my meetings and in consulting with all of these celebrities and CEOs is that nobody's really focused on legacy. So everybody wants to talk about, okay, well, how can we make more money? How can we, increase our margins? How can we cut expense? How can we strategize to do this, that, and the other? How can we grow to X number of dollars? But there's not a conversation about, okay, after this is done, what is the next step? Or if I drop dead today, what's going to happen to my company? That's never a conversation that anybody ever wonders about. And then when I bring it up, it's kind of like, what? What are you talking about? And so that really said to me that somebody really has to shine a spotlight on this issue of legacy and what people are doing today to create their legacies, because a lot of people won't even think about it until like they're half dead. Like they got one leg in the grave and are trying to sign papers at the hospital. It's just a scene that's so ridiculous, because we'll spend like hundreds of hours strategizing over your business, but not enough time as to what happens next. Who's going to benefit from that business? How is it going to be transferred? Who's going to be the successor? Are you planning to sell it? If so, what's the value of it? That's the conversation that really needs to be had in addition to and parallel to the growth conversations and the increase in the profitability conversation. So that's really why I wrote the book. Because, I know you have a diverse audience, but I know that some people in your audience are more aware of financial tools and how to use them than others. And so the goal of the book is to make sure that everybody has access to those financial tools, not only access to them, but understanding how to use them.
Well, thank you. Well, first of all, the word legacy is pretty deep and means a lot more. And in the context of business, obviously you've highlighted, but legacy is, we all deserve to keep a legacy behind and have some sort of plan to have a legacy. I mean, it's unfortunate, to your point. You said it. We live our lives, we struggle, we do all the stuff, we go crazy, and then poof, one day you're not here. And so what have you left behind? Trouble. or issues to your heirs or even to your partners, or whatever happens. And then but what's your signature? Did you leave a signature in this world? I mean, that's one thing. I mean, just taking the book. A book is a legacy. You leave that behind, and thousands, millions will always benefit from it. I mean, we today we owe it to all the folks that are in past centuries left us with knowledge. That's one way. But I do love what you said about in the business. As a matter of fact, I do have a show that we produce. It's called Legal Tips for Life, and we talked about estate planning and wills and trusts and all the stuff in it. And one of the things that came up in one of those shows was the idea that many people have none of that, and also came up in a discussion once is that a lot of people start businesses with partners and so on and so forth, but there's no planning as to what happens if someone dies. Or if you're the partner and whatever. And those are discussions. I think the discussion of debt is taboo, or always something we don't want to cover because I don't want to think about it, but it's real. I mean, you can't avoid that. There's nothing we can do about it. I mean, we have to accept it. And so you have your family, you have your business. I mean, to your point,
Mm-hmm.
that's your baby. When you grow a business, I'm in business. I know how it is. It's like,
Yeah,
this is my passion. I put my blood into it, and
that's right.
I do want to see it flourish and eventually have an impact on life and legacy and so on and so forth. But you're right. If the planning is off, it can be a problem. I mean, you do have to have attorneys, you do have to have accounting, and make sure that you have the proper what happens if, right? All
Mm-hmm.
these things. But these are not typical questions that we all ask. And sometimes we roll our sleeves, we just make it, and then we get caught up, as you said, we get caught up in the business, strategy,
Mm-hmm.
this, how we grow, margins, boom,
Yeah,
boom, boom.
yeah,
But then what if? And I think we all have this avoidance of that question. When I say
yeah.
all, it is like it's personal. It's just that no one wants to think about the worst. And
Yeah, but I don't think legacy needs to be thought of as the worst because it's not even about death. Legacy is about life. And it's about being able to live your best life and making sure that your children are able to live their best lives.
Mm.
It's not always about us. At some point in our lives, it becomes about others. And that's really the point at which people are ready to say, okay, like you said, what signature am I leaving on this world? Am I leaving it a better place than I found it? Type thing. What benefits or opportunities have I created for my children and my children's children and their children and so on and so forth? And so that's really the shift that I'm trying to bring to light, is that legacy is not about death. And legacy really isn't about estate planning and wills and those types of things only. Those are vehicles and tools that we need to use, but that's not really what it's about. It's about, what do we want our legacy to look like, and what do we want people to say about us, and what tangible proof are we leaving that our life had impact on the future.
I love it. And I the word you said, it's not about that, it's about life. Because yes, while you live, that's one thing. But even if you're not here, you live through your legacy. You leave it to the living, the ones that are behind you. They gonna benefit from it, and so on and so forth. So you're right. It's all about how we always see things, right? Full, half empty, mindset, all those things do apply in these concepts. But it is, to your point, it's a bigger piece of life, and we all have to have that. You're right. The estate piece and all that, those are the unfortunate, the world has rules, and there's different things you have to be aware. We talked about the taxation and all the stuff. So you need to be aware, so you always plan correctly. Otherwise, you can build an empire, and then through a mistake, you can lose all that.
That's right.
Not a good idea. Ultimately, we don't see a lot of it. I mean, but I'm sure it happens to maybe small or mid class, type of businesses, as opposed to some of the big corporations, which have a full staff, of attorneys and firms that actually do that. But the average business doesn't have the capabilities to hire. Maybe you retain someone. Maybe you have someone that you hire once every quarter to do your taxes. It's a little different, and then as individuals, even worse. I mean, we wait to the end of the year to get that tax done, right? So it's different. Now, what drove you to write this book? I mean, I get it. Was there an event that you wanted to just? Was it just the fact that you've met too many people that just didn't know how to do this, and you wanted to put it out as a book?
Yeah, it was just, I really had and wanted to change the conversation, because the conversation with an entrepreneur should not only be about the entrepreneur and their business and how big and how fast and how much they can grow. I really just wanted to change the conversation to what impact can my business have on the future? What impact can my business have on my children, or on my neighborhood, or on my community, on my city? I really wanted to change the conversation, the narrative, and the perspective to a more broad scope, and just to kind of, help people broaden their horizons when they think about their businesses. No, it's not just a corner store. It's not just whatever you think it is. It really has the potential to really change the conversation and change all the things that you complain about. And one of the things that I said to you is, hey, let's start the conversation with health, since that's one of the foundations of your business. So one of the things that everybody is aware of is the health gap. So some people have more access. Some people are healthier. Some people have more, health issues because of whatever. But that's also a part of legacy. So you eat things, you do things, you have certain habits because that's what your mother did, or that's what she taught you, or that's what she fed you, whatever. And that goes from generation to generation. And that could be generational cycles of bad health, bad habits. And it could be just because that's what you're used to. You don't know anything else. But once we get to a point where we know we should not eat fried food every day, we should definitely have some vegetables in there. Maybe we don't have to cook everything with pork. Maybe we could have some really nice salads and some fresh food and those types of things. So when we're able to change our habits and change the things that we do, then we can share that with our children. We can break those generational health curses and those generational health habits that lead to bad health and increased health costs and all of those things. So, and that's why I said health is part of legacy too, but it's something that you can control and that you can change if it's something that you don't like.
Well, I love that. I mean, it's funny you said health is where I built my foundation in terms of, the media company and all this. And it's true because one of the reasons this started literally was because of what you just said right now, because I've been in the healthcare industry in the payers area, so the insurance piece of it, but we are always intricately involved in the patient's treatments and all stuff because we're the insurers, right? We pay. And because I'm in New York, so health plans are part of the fabric of the city, and Medicaid, Medicare, those are the government programs, and so I've been literally entrenched in those for over a quarter century. And it sounds a lot, but doing that work, I've seen a lot of people, not to your point, not taking care of themselves and so on and so forth. And there's not enough for them. Even the plans are doing their best, and there's stuff, but there's so many things. I mean, you have a lot of people. The infrastructure may not be as sufficient, things like that, and people don't even know how the healthcare system works in overall. And so, one of the reasons I decided to do this is that there's things that I've known that many people didn't know, and the idea is to bring that back to people. One thing I realized is that there is no health channel; there was a weather channel. There is other channels, but we don't have one that is dedicated to health. There's no health radio, so that's kind of like what it started. Is like we need to bring this, and I'm not the best expert in the health part. I mean, I understand some of it, and the idea is to create a platform where I can bring people to talk about it and share some value. And to be honest with you, that was a tremendous, opportunity for me to do that. And it was part of my legacy into changing, some of the dynamics and helping some people to live better, change the way they do things. We talk diabetes, we talk sugar, we talk, mental health. We talk all kind of, discussions, physical therapy, fitness, wellness, beauty, you name it, because at the end of the day, it's all impactful, and it will eventually make a difference in these people's lives and in my life too. Cause I listen to people every day on my shows, and I'm the first client. I get all that energy first and that advice, and I apply some of it. I try to apply as much as I can. But if it helps me, it's going to help, the millions out there, and hopefully more than just the millions in time. But that's like, but you're right. It's like I had that same feeling that people, you see stuff. I've seen cultural things. I've seen, people are used to a certain way, and they just don't know different. And the education part is not enough there to actually give them. We talk about, like, we had COVID, right? I mean, pandemic. We most people didn't know what to do in it. They just, we just talk pandemic, and now what are we going to do about it? But how do you navigate it? Then finally we had some enlightenment on TV, but typically that was not the case before. And even now it's over.
Yeah, and I think it's a two-step process. So I think that education and knowledge is one thing. Letting people know, okay, this is really what you should be thinking about, or, these are the things that diabetes can cause, or whatever the case may be. But then, so education is the first step, but then execution is the next step. Yes. Like, what do you do and how do you do it? And the key is making that step easier. And so with legacy, like you said, nobody wants to talk about death. Nobody wants to think about death or anything about that. And it just, the process seems so intimidating, and oh my God, I don't know what to do. Who do I call? So then people do nothing. And so that's why my book is called Legacy Made Simple, because not only do you have to give people information, you have to make it simple for them to execute and take the next step. And so when you were talking about, the health piece and nobody knows about healthcare and all of that, from a legacy perspective, I talked about habits being part of legacy, but think about a situation where you could make it possible for your children and your grandchildren and other generations not to have to worry about healthcare. It's already paid for. So, they could have a nutritionist to tell them, okay, these are the things that work for your body. These are the things that you should really stay away from. Nobody really knows that. And, healthcare is expensive. It's, doctors and prescriptions and all these things. But if part of our legacy could be where our kids don't have to worry about monthly premiums, how much more likely would it be that their health becomes better and that health gap is closed? So it's not a situation where this person is unhealthy because they can't afford the medication or they can't afford the doctors or they don't know what's wrong with them or how to move forward to a better health state or a better health situation. If they didn't have to worry about that, I think that we would close that gap and we would experience in our communities so much more prosperity because we would be healthier people.
I love that. And you know what? I mean, I think that's a strong, concept right there. The idea of health is wealth, as we know, right? That's something that everybody hears. But you're right. Many people sometimes don't seek the help or do like what they need to do because they don't have the means or they have no access or they don't know how to get the access.
That's right.
And that's the other. I mean, there's a lot of programs out there, but how many people know about it? I mean, throughout my career, what I loved about what I was doing is that we were able to bring that to the communities. Hey, did you know you can do this? There's free programs here. There's that. You can get this. You're pregnant. Well, did you know you can have access to care and you don't have to pay for this? Oh my God, I can. Yeah. And you see that like their eyes, like, oh my God,
that's right.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I used to go to these meetings and I was a sales guy, and when I started or advisor, if you want to call it, and you sit in front of people and you show them like what they have potentially access to and what they can, and they're just like, oh my God, you're giving us something that I didn't know that we can have that. Well, yes, you can. And so, and it changes. Now you know that you have access to this, service and the other and so on and so forth. Now, I mean, I'll give you a good example. Years back, people didn't know that, for example, that PERS, the personal emergency response, device that you play a button, and then you make like I fail, whatever, and I can't get up. So many people don't even know that they can access that. And this is just a simple example, but imagine what that means to you if you knew that you can apply for it and which program you can apply for. And now you as a caregiver, you as the person, now you have a safety net that God forbid something happens, you have immediate response to come in and help you. But how many people know that, right? Now, ultimately, over the years, it became more, prominent and people know about it. But there's many more examples of those. I mean, I can tell you about, for example, for immigrants. I mean, I'm in New York and Jersey. There's a lot of folks that come in from overseas, and they're afraid to actually access care because they're afraid of immigration status and so on and so forth. Right? That's been always a big piece. And you're pregnant. Oh, I don't want to go to the hospital. You do need to go to the hospital. Well, I have an insurance. Guess what? You have free insurance, or no cost to you. I mean, as we don't call it free, we say, a low cost or no cost to you. But there are programs. But that's the thing. Like people need to be aware. And I love what you said. It made simple. They need to know what to do, the steps. Where do I go? How do I do it? What the paperwork I need to? You give them guidance. You give them. I mean, there are social workers. There's programs here and there. But again, access to them, knowing where to go. As a matter of fact, I just had a show a couple of days ago of an advocate who suffered from schizophrenia all his life, and he decided to give back and give resources to people like him around the world that may not know how to access. And actually, he's dedicated now more not just in the States or Canada. He's talking about people in the underdeveloped countries, which again, what we talking here, we're in the States, we're still up here in terms of a lot of things. I mean, we still have deficiencies and gaps, but you're talking about Africa, you're talking about Asia, you're talking about, Middle East, you're talking about parts of South America. People don't have the same access that we do.
That's right.
And they have no clue what could be possible. Sometimes now with the technology, You have
Right.
access to Zoom and stuff. You can get consultations, you can get services, you can get stuff online. Many things can change, but if you don't know,
That's
like
right.
to your point, the knowledge is key, education. But then now, how do I go? Which step? What resource do I apply for to
Mhm.
get what I need? And that's the difference. But again, it's about awareness, about letting people know. And so I really admire the book, concept. And
Mhm.
again, you see a need and you place that need. You give the exact tools for people to see it. Now, again, many people may not know about the book, and that's what we do in this today to help people get the book. Reach out to
Mhm.
you, learn about how you do this, and you don't have to be a CEO or. By the way, why not? You can dream to be a CEO, and you can maybe work towards becoming a CEO, having your own business, and do all that stuff. You never know what can drive that motivation. Maybe the fact that you feel that you don't have the tools and you don't know how to do that, reading a couple of things here and maybe changing your life. And that's the
Yeah.
thing. You don't know what phrase, what saying, what part of any show is going to give you
Mhm.
that, oh my God, I can
Yeah.
do that. It's time for
Yeah.
me to make a move. We don't know
Yeah.
that. And many people don't have, they just waiting for that simple, trigger, and when that
Right.
happens, like, woohoo.
Yeah, not only the trigger, but I think you said something important is that, some people may aspire to have their own business or something like that. And so I think it's very sad when entrepreneurs are not intentional about making sure that they have successors or a tight exit strategy, because then what that means is that next generation of entrepreneurs has to start at zero. You've already done the work. You've already laid the foundation. But what you didn't do was to make sure that they could take advantage of it and pass the baton, I guess, in a sense. And so now they have to relay the foundation, which is, an exhaustive time and money and other resources. But it all it took was a passing of the baton. We didn't have to reinvent the wheel and reinvent the foundation. But if there's not intentionality behind that, then that's exactly what happens, which is why so many communities are not able to make progress, because we have to do the same thing over and over because there's no legacy plan in place.
Well, that's awesome, because that's a good segue to the next part of the discussion is that, and you mentioned something about children, the future, right? Do we hold everything, or do we teach our next generation how to do better than us? I mean, we all believe that. I think as a parent personally, I know that you want the best for your children. You want them to be better than you, and so on and so forth. But how we execute on that, that's the key question.
Yeah.
And do you have the potential power to even introduce that? Because again, nowadays, I mean, people are influenced by a lot of different, I guess, winds,
Mhm.
and so you can tell them this is what the route should be. Well, no, I'm going this way. Now, there are also ideologies where it says, you should do what's best for you, what you feel right about.
Mhm.
But sometimes that still mean that you're not going to get that transfer, that change in the legacy in like you become the next one. I mean, I've had so many folks that I've talked to and they say, I'm the first person that went to college. I'm the first one
Right.
that did this, and my parents were encouraging, or sometimes the opposite. They were not part of it, but I decided to do this. I kind of cut the cycle, and I'm doing something different. I'm the first one that just really changed the life of this name, right? And so that's a very important message for our folks right now, because everybody can make a difference.
That's
and
right.
It's the idea of, do we want to place that information and also show people how to maneuver and really just navigate the change? Because again, that's the thing. Change is hard. It's easy, but it's
That's
hard.
right.
People are so caught up in the routine. I'm like, I'm just I'm good, I'm comfortable. I always say this: we need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And
That's right.
that is kind of almost an ironic concept.
Yeah.
But the fact is, that's how it is. Nothing is easy, and you can't change things if you don't change behavior. You don't change certain
That's right. That's right.
and it starts with the mind, and literally you have to shift like how you think.
You have to. You have to. Because a lot of times we, our mindset and our the ways we think about things and people are also legacy. And a lot of generational curses come through that way. So we have to be careful not to continue to perpetuate those curses. And we say, wait a minute, is this something that I really want to pass on? Or do I want to change the way that people think about this, that, or like money. Do I want to change the way people think about money, the way people think about other ethnic groups, the way that people think about themselves? There's, groups out here who have been, mistreated and told that they were less, but we have to stop that conversation and stop saying those same words and totally change the way we now hand down the information, because, it's quite possible that we inadvertently, without intentionality, perpetuate lies about ourselves. And that's damaging to our legacy and to the future of our children.
You said it terrifically, and you're right. I mean, unfortunately, we do tend to live in that space of that's just what we are and who we are, and that's how it's been. But we don't look at those exceptions over the years that, despite everything, and we can talk about, ethnicities, we can talk about race, we can talk about a lot of things. People did make a change, a difference, way before we even thought about it. But yet we choose to accept, well, we can't do this. No, you can do everything.
Yeah.
If one person can do it, I can do it. If we use this rule, life will change, tremendously for everyone. And, again, it's fear of the different. It's fear of the change. It's fear of the work that you have to do. It's cozy. I'm good. Like this been good for us. I mean, it's easy also to complain and blame the world. Oh, my circumstances, I cannot, it's bad. I mean, many success stories came up from humble beginnings and humble, neighborhoods and so on and so forth, where there was nothing available, but that didn't stop those people. And, there should be like, we should admire those minds, because that should be my role model,
Yeah.
He did it. She did it. They made the change. They made the difference. Why can't I? The only difference is because I blame the world for my for my misery. And, that's the problem. What am I doing about it?
That's right. That's right. That's what drives me crazy too. It's like, if you don't like something or you don't like what you see, change the story, change the narrative. Don't perpetuate it. That means that you have to do something to disrupt the way things are. But what that is not continue to talk about it and not continue to say the same things and not continue to just talk about legacy, but not do anything about it. Talk about generational wealth, but not do anything about it. So that's the conversation that it's like, okay, if you don't like that, then let's change it. You don't like that wealth gap? Okay, let's do something about it. What is your legacy going to do to change it, to close it?
I love it. Well, that's the thing. Like, again, what's funny is that there's plenty of resources. I mean, at least we live in the States. I tend to believe that if you tell me that you live in the States and, you can't get through things, or you can move from the damn state if you don't like the state, move from the city if you don't like the city. This is the part that sometimes drives me nuts. I've moved from state to state for opportunity to opportunity. I'll continue doing that for whatever it takes until I'm, gone, because I want to improve. I want to change. I want to make that. And what makes you, just say that I can't? You just, not that you can't, you just are not willing to.
That's right.
And you're just not ready to make that. It's too much for me. But we live in a country that has plenty of resources compared to many others. And when you go overseas, I travel a lot. I know you travel a lot. You see people that have much less.
That's right.
They thrive differently and they do more, and they're creative more because they have no choice. But
that's right.
I mean, listen, I can speak, like, my kids are not like me. They have a different drive because they kind of got a little bit of everything, a little bit easier life. I didn't have the same life, so I can see it differently from them. And I'm like, guys, I didn't always have this, and that's why I do what I do. And just because you have it, you need to learn that there are people that may not have the same access, and so you need to do certain things. And so the discussion is a little different because, again, the environment is. But we live in an actual part of the world which, despite disparities, and I know there's wealth, disparity across the board, and there's a lot of things, and there's some barriers that some may have less access to to the resources. But that's bold, because if you want stuff, you can access stuff.
That's right.
Now we live in the world of internet. You can access any service, and some services outside of the country, and you can still get access to them.
Yeah.
So don't be just complaining and complaining all the time and whining like my life sucks. Yeah. It only sucks because we want it. And with due respect to everybody that's watching and listening, I mean, we blame we blame the world, but we don't look here. It starts here. You gotta look in, you gotta have that discussion with yourself. What am I doing to change me? and what am I
Yeah.
doing to change the world? And to your point, to leave a good legacy to my kids, and shifting the paradigm and shifting the narrative and changing the whole dynamics for the next generation.
Mhm.
If not, we'll just go retro and we'll just collapse eventually, and that's it. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, it's sad, but I love the fact that there are folks like you that are out there that are really putting this message out and sharing this wealth of ideology that can change again, the next generation. If
Yeah.
10 people hear this show today, hopefully, and it's going to be more, but if one person uses some of the stuff that you have in your book and the concept, that's going to shift them to think different and open up their mind to, I can do things. And by the way, that's the other thing. As long as you're willing, and once you do the search, you're going to find one door opens, another, and before you know it, you're like, where the hell was all this?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, it's like you want to have food, but you don't want to go to the cabinet and pick up stuff and cook. I mean, it's all there, but you got to go get it or go to the store, pick it up. But if you're not looking, that there's a store somewhere that might sell the products. But unless you get up from your couch and go and do your stuff, it's not going to happen. Education is available. We say that's not available. There's programs. You can go overseas and study and come back for free. There's many, because the reason I said that is more people are like, well, it's very expensive to study in the States. Maybe there are programs, there are jobs that will pay for your tuition. There's so many things you could do. So we can claim all the reasons why things don't happen.
Right.
Or we can just say,
because that's the easy to do it.
That's right.
Yeah, that's easy. Like we don't have to get uncomfortable to just blame other people and just not do anything or do the things that we could do that may be a little more difficult. So yeah, I definitely feel that a lot of people just kind of say they want something, but they're not willing to do what it takes to get it.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna change that today.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you so your book is available.
Yeah.
People can access it to Amazon. I think Barnes & Nobles, there's a whole list, and so I will have that link to it. Now, just quickly, I mean, we do have some time still left. Now, the work that you do in as the coaching business, now, is it restricted to like CEOs and business owners, or is it open to other types of folks that want to learn maybe and just maybe become one of those CEOs eventually?
Yeah, so the book Legacy Made Simple is just the starting point. So after that, we have a coaching program because we realize that, like I said before, you can't just give the information and bam, things change and miraculously everybody has this beautiful legacy. No, it doesn't work like that. And I'm very rooted in reality. So I know that I have to guide people on their journey to their best legacy. And so that means just a lot of time asking them to think about what it is that they want. A lot of people don't even know what they would want. Like, what do you want your legacy to be? Who's going to be part of that legacy? In what role? A lot of times people don't think about if something happened to them, who would take care of not only their children, but their parents. There are different roles in your legacy plan. And one of the first things we think about is who's going to be filling these roles. And then, people have children, they want to maybe leave financial legacies to their children. But one of the things that we also talk about in our programs is, is your child ready for that? So if the most money your child ever had is $1,000, now you want to give them $1 million, that's not a great recipe for accomplishing anything. So we have to be very intentional also about building better and building brilliant beneficiaries. We have to make sure they're ready. We can't just it's not, like I said, it's not about money. It's not about the will. It's about what do you want to see? What do you want to have happen? But also, it's not really all about our children. Your legacy could be global. It could impact other countries. What is it that you want to see? That is the starting point of all of the legacy conversations that we have. And that can go wherever it needs to go. If maybe somebody starts thinking, man, I did want to start that business. Okay, let's get the agreement. Let's get it set up. Let's start it. What are we going to do? Let's get the business plan. So that could be one route. Another route could be, I want to set up this trust for my mom, or I have a special needs child, or whatever it is. Okay, let's get that done. Let's do the actual thing, because I don't have time to just talk about it. We got to do it. And so there are several different paths depending on what people actually say they want after thinking about it, which they probably have not done.
Wow. Well, but these are real great points, because it is amazing, because you hit on real stuff that people sometimes don't like to hear, but it's fact. You can have millions, but if you're just going to donate that money to your kids and they're going to have cold turkey and easy money goes easy too.
That's right.
Because I can tell you, it's funny, if you get a gift, unless it has some sort of a romantic value or something of that level, and you lose that piece of whatever was given to you, you're not going to feel the same damage if it was something that you worked hard for. I mean, yes. I remember my kids, right? My oldest kid, when he started working and started buying his own stuff. Now he's like taking care of his stuff. Like, well, all of a sudden you're like taking care of your stuff now. I mean, it's value to you. But before the same stuff you got, didn't care about, because it was an investment from your part. And
that's right.
But you're right. It's changing also that next mindset on how to apply, because we've seen stories where people can damage a company and take everything down the hill because it's easy to, my dad is $1 million, but that's not you.
That's right. That's right.
How do you present yourself? Now, of course, that's not always the case. I mean, there are people that take the companies to the next stage, but those are the things, to your point, is to you guide people to actually understand. And we're not seeing that part. We don't kind of think about it. But now that you're talking about it, it's like, oh, that makes sense. And you're right. You can have the legacy, like in the community, what your work is doing in the community. For example, I'm doing something, that I want to be in the community. Now, my next generation may not want to do that anymore. I'm doing a charitable work, and now my son doesn't care about it. So I need to plan for that, because I don't want my community to be missing on what I've built for them, right? You said it worldwide. You can do something worldwide where you're helping parts of the world that need, water or shelter, medicine, whatever. And then all of a sudden, your next, heir system is not going to, honor that legacy of yours and the work that you've done.
Right.
So these are all things that need to be in planning, and also like 3-point agreements, and everything is done. And but also preparing those next folks to be at that, ready for that, to take over to the baton, as you said, to have that handout. And as opposed to just taking a handout and just like, let me just enjoy my life with my dad's my dad's wealth, right? It is, or my mom's wealth for that matter, because I mean, we have both sides. I mean, it's like Batman, right? the legacy, right? It's amazing. You got to take over, a big name, and you have to carry that name in your shoulder, and that's a whole different story. We can all have these fictitious, characters and make them real and apply, but without the proper help, sometimes we just don't know how to go about it. So people like you who are out there doing this work can change the whole thing. And I love it. You said this is not about who is already there. It's you're training people to get there. Now that leads me to the question, what is that journey like? I mean, how long, for example, if someone comes to you to start this program, what that time frame would look like?
So we have 3 different programs. Our shortest program is 3 months. And that's really a think through. So we really are coaching and guiding people through different steps of the legacy process. The next program is 4 months. And that's where we have, we're kind of pulling, we're kind of pulling people through. So we do weekly calls like, okay, so you thought about this last week. What'd you come up with? You talked about leaving this for your child or for your grandchild, but what other things do they need to be ready for that? And so those types of things we talk about to really craft a plan that is well thought out and doesn't necessarily have to be changed every year because they forgot this or they forgot that. And then our final package includes all those things, as well as the executed documents to actually make those things come into fruition. But just going back to the discussions about our heirs and our children, I think that one of the ways that parents think about their kids is they think about, I just want my child to have better. I just want them to have more than I had or better than I had. But I'm really wanting people to think about, how can I make my child or my heirs better people than I am, a better person than I am?
Character.
That also should be part of the thought process when we're thinking about what we want our legacy to be for our children. Because, like I said, it's not all about money, but if all we're thinking about is we want them to have more or have better, it doesn't really lend itself to really focusing on making them better people, better humans, and better contributors to the community and to the world.
I love that. I mean, that's an excellent piece, because if you can't teach them the character and the personality, and that's how they should be, value and to have the value and evaluate everything around them. To your point, the positions themselves, that's not going to do anything. I mean, it's easy to hand money, but to change them, the way they think and the way they see the world, and be a better person and a better contributor, as you stated. I mean, that's probably the biggest challenge that we all have. And probably the most difficult piece of it, because it might be too late sometimes, if it's not early on.
I think that might be one of the toughest pieces, because then what we have to think about is, what are we showing them?
Yes.
What are we demonstrating in front of them? We're telling them to do XYZ, but what are we showing them? How are we talking in front of them? How are they watching us do business? Because kids see everything that you might not think that they see. And then they imitate that. So they might not do what you say, but they'll do what you do. They'll use the words that you use. They'll take the posture that you take. So when you talk about wanting them to be better people, then you have to really think about, okay, what am I demonstrating in front of them? What is the legacy that I'm demonstrating live right now and teaching them to do? That's why it's uncomfortable. And that's why that might be one of the toughest conversations that we have in Legacy Made Simple programs, because it forces you to kind of take an inner look, which we already said is really the toughest thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we know that the expression, you got to lead by example. And again, they will take from you what you can't tell them, well, you can't do this. Well, but that you just spend money like it's no tomorrow. And you treat everybody like shit, what's up? And how do you expect me to not do that, right? I mean, it sounds like as tough as, but that's real, right? If I am actually a bad CEO and a bad, leader, and I treat my employees bad and I don't do anything, but no, son, I want you to take care of my business because you want to do all this stuff. God, I don't see you doing anything. so I can just imagine that scenario and that role. I mean, where you have the discussion, and today's generation is a lot more observant and more vocal, I think, than previous generations. I mean, I couldn't talk back to my dad that way, but my kids will talk back any given minute to me and tell me like, "What's up, Dad?" they check you up. I mean, they'll really give you a check time. Like, hey. We gotta make sure that no, this is not it. You can't tell me this. You gotta do it first, and that's a tough one. But I love it because you already have that in the works. So that means you have to devise the right way to change. And I think to your point, that may be difficult for the person themselves, because now they have to start changing the way they operate for them to continue that legacy. But listen, it is powerful stuff. Now, question: I know you are. As an attorney, you can operate in all states, but as a program, do you operate in the states? Any limitation in jurisdiction, or are you pretty much open to the world?
No, it's a national program, and even though I am an attorney, I do tax work in all 50 states. We have a professional network of attorneys, financial planners, CPAs, all in different states, to accommodate the people who are in different states wanting to build their legacy with someone they can build a relationship in their community. So that's also very important, because this person who is going to draft your legacy documents, they also might do that buy-sell agreement for your business. Because one of the things that's intimidating is when people don't have an attorney. Like you mentioned earlier, if you're not wealthy or if you're not a corporation, you think, man, I can't afford an attorney. I can't afford this, or, I'm not rich enough for a financial planner. But no, that's not the case. Everybody has access to financial professionals and legal professionals. And that's what we're making sure of at Legacy Made Simple, that we have a network that you can tap into. You don't have to go cold turkey and do a Google search. We already have the network set up for you. And then the book tells you the tools that each of these professionals can potentially how they can service you and how they can benefit you, not only as far as your legacy, but as part of your business as well.
So, Doctor, what are some of the inhibitors or some of the objections that you find people typically have when you have this discussion with them? I mean, there's always, like, I want it, but then that, I don't want it. I can't do it. And, they give you all the reasons why they don't want to be in the program, for example. Is it a cost? Is it just the fact that they're not willing to make, the move? What are some of the typical things that maybe our audiences can benefit from? Like, hey, don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I think cost is always a factor. But at the same time, it's all about what people prioritize. People are going to pay for what they want, period. So if you're not at a point where your legacy is valuable or a priority for you, then Legacy Made Simple will seem like something that is not possible for you. But I bet you the same money that you would have spent with Legacy Made Simple will get spent on something else that you prioritize. So that's one of the things that we see, but also for people who don't have financial objections, it's still difficult for them to commit to the time to do the self work, to really say, what do I want? That's sometimes a difficult conversation for people to have with themselves. And so that's why we have the coaching and the guidance to really help them to say, hey, let's maybe break it down into smaller concepts. So you don't, even though this seems small, it could be big for you because of things that may have happened in your life. So we really work with people to really break it down in a way that they're comfortable and they don't feel like there are internal barriers to their thought process and to their legacy plan.
Wow. Yeah, listen, it's amazing, but you're right. I'm listening to you and it never fails. I mean, we all have this thing. We will find the money for whatever we decide is a priority. Right. And sometimes it's the wrong priority, but we'll make it work. It's just a matter of like really, putting it in perspective. What do I need? How bad do I need it? And kind of how elevating that need and that urgency. And then it becomes clear and you will do whatever it takes.
Well, not really need, but I think want is that word. Want not need, because it's about want.
Yep, no, I agree. Yeah, wrong word. but you get, that's the concept. Absolutely. Like they have to see that I need this. This is really, what I wanted this time, as opposed to like, well, maybe later. I'm not really in desperate need for it, right? And so it is powerful, but it is real. I mean, it's as real as it gets. Well, I mean, we've just about the mark of the hour. I took a lot of your time. So just before we close our show today, are there any words of wisdom that you'd like to share and leave our, audiences with today?
Yeah, I think for the entrepreneurs, I would just, like to let them know that no matter how much you grow your company, no matter how much money you make, no matter what your margins are and all those financial milestones we like to set, there's really no success without succession. So you got to have that exit strategy. You got to have some kind of succession plan. Either you're going to pass your business to someone, or you're going to set it up in a way where you're going to get the value for it and sell it and benefit the next generations, or however you want your legacy to look. You're going to benefit someone by taking those steps intentionally. And then to people who don't have businesses, I would just say that your legacy has the potential, so much potential. And a lot of people don't know because they think, oh, I got to have $1 million. I got to be a millionaire. I got to have these assets or this. No, you don't. All you have to do is know what you want, as you said, what you want your signature to be. What I would say is what you want your legacy to look like. And then let's put a plan in place to make that happen. That could mean, even if your legacy is just something small, like, $5,000. In a country like Africa, $5,000 can make a huge difference. Like you said, we have access to so much in the States that we kind of lose perspective as what the things that other people are going through. But you don't have to necessarily be a millionaire or even wealthy or rich to really make an impact. You could take that $5,000 and leave it to a college and create a scholarship for somebody, or just buy books. I mean, college expenses are real, like paying college tuition and buying books and room and board and all these things, even for someone who has a scholarship. Maybe they're from a family that just can't get those books purchased. And then your scholarship makes it possible for them to attend college and succeed. And that's part of your legacy. It's not a lot of money, but it's a lot of impact.
That is powerful. And you're right. I mean, it's amazing. And, you talked about succession planning, and you're right. It doesn't have to be succession plan just because you're in a CEO or a business owner. I mean, we talk about that even as leadership, in companies, you kind of plan for the next successor for your role, for you. And that could be your son in or your daughter in terms of the world, right? Or your spouse, maybe. You don't know who that person is, but somebody's going to succeed, have the succession in your success story. And to your point, it could be charitable work. It could be funds, for other people. It could be a book. It could be something that you're going to deliver that you want to continue beyond, and it's going to benefit and have a real impact in life. And you can't, I think there's no price to that. That is the bottom line to it.
Yeah.
Wow, Doctor, it's been a true honor and a pleasure for having you here. And, I absorbed a lot, so I'm just like a sponge and just taking, and I enjoy this stuff. So,
So, if anybody wants to get the book, they could go to mylegacymadesimple.com, or they can learn more about me at ginajones.com, which is GENAJONES.com, or follow me on Instagram at Business Boss LLC or Legacy Made Simple LLC. So see me on Instagram, go to my website, get the book. Let's get these legacies in place, because the impact you can have is huge.
And I wouldn't add no more to that one. That's the powerful right there. All right, folks. Well, you hear it. You heard it. It's you got to have impact in life, and it's time to wake up and maybe do something different. Challenge yourself. And yes, please do reach out. And you have multiple ways, and I'll try to have as many of those elements where you can connect directly with Dr. Jones. And so look out for that in the description of the show. That being said, Doctor, thank you for being with us. And folks, it's been real, and we'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic. Bye for now.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.